She remembered the sound before the pain, the sharp crack of wood and the terrified scream of horses as the stagecoach jolted violently across the open prairie, because fear had followed her for so long that it no longer startled her the way it should have. She had boarded that coach with nothing left to lose. No family waiting, no home to return to, only a small bag holding a cracked mirror and a folded letter, promising work somewhere west, a promise that felt thinner with every mile. The plains stretched endlessly on both sides, golden and unforgiving beneath a merciless sky, and she had been thinking how peaceful it all looked when the wheel struck. Hidden stone and the world broke apart. Wood screamed, bodies collided, iron tore flesh, and then gravity vanished as the coach tipped and rolled, throwing her against splintered boards until darkness swallowed everything. When she woke, the sun burned overhead, the air buzzing with flies. The wreckage scattered like bones across the grass. One horse lay dead beneath the crushed coach, its eye open and accusing. Pain flared when she tried to move, her ankle screaming in protest, her ribs tight and bruised, and when she called out, her voice dissolved into the wind without answer. No passengers, no driver. Whether they were dead or gone, she would never know. Hours passed as the heat drained her strength and thirst clawed at her throat. Memories drifting in and out. Her mother's hands braiding her hair. The slow collapse of everything she once believed would last. By evening, vultures circled patiently in the distance, and she understood with terrifying clarity that the prairie did not care whether she lived or died. As night crept in and cold settled deep into her bones, she cried softly, not with panic, but with the quiet sorrow of someone who had finally run out of strength to fight fate. She whispered apologies to no one, closed her eyes, and surrendered. It was the thunder that pulled her back, the deep vibration of hundreds of hooves rolling across the land. Shapes emerged on the horizon, dark and massive, a buffalo herd surging forward like a living storm. Panic flared and she tried to crawl away, fingers tearing at dry grass, but her body betrayed her, locking her in place with pain. She squeezed her eyes shut, certain this was the end, until the thunder slowed and a shadow fell across her face. When she looked again, it wasn't hoofs she saw, but boots. A man stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, weathered by wind and years alone, his long dark hair tied back, a rifle resting easily against him. His eyes were sharp but not cruel, and he studied her with the calm certainty of someone who knew the difference between death and survival. A buffalo hunter, she realized instinctively, from the scent of leather and gun oil, from the way the herd bent around them at his distant signal shots. He knelt without urgency, checked her pulse, lifted his canteen to her lips and let her drink slowly, carefully, as if he understood how close she was to slipping away. He wrapped his coat around her shoulders, shielding her from the wind and the world, and in that moment, broken in the dust, warmed by a stranger, she felt a fragile spark flicker back to life. When she woke again, the ceiling above her was rough-hewn wood darkened by smoke, not the endless sky she had expected, and fear tightened her chest until the scent of boiling herbs and river water grounded her in the truth. She was alive. Her ankle was bound, her ribs wrapped, her wounds cleaned with gentle care. The hunter sat nearby, sharpening a knife, and when he noticed her awake, he nodded as if waking from the edge of death were ordinary. He spoke little, offering his name and nothing more, his silence oddly comforting. Days blurred as he nursed her back with patience, feeding her slowly, lifting her only when necessary, never treating her as fragile, only injured, and in that distinction she found dignity she thought she had lost. When she finally stood, shaking and breathless, leaning on the table he had built himself, she smiled through the pain because standing meant survival. She helped where she could, mending his coat, sweeping the floor, cooking simple meals, and each small task stitched another piece of her back together. She learned his life through observation, how he rose before dawn, how he watched the horizon like an old enemy, how solitude had shaped him without breaking him. One evening, riders appeared against the red sky, their silhouettes sharp and wrong. Fear coiled in her chest, but the hunter stepped forward, rifle steady, placing himself between her and the danger. They were scavengers, men who followed buffalo hunters to take hides, supplies, and worse, and when their eyes landed on her, something ugly passed between them. The hunter's voice was calm and final when he told them to leave, and the standoff stretched thin until the riders backed away, unwilling to test a man with nothing left to lose. That night she understood. Safety wasn't a place, it was a person, willing to stand in front of you when everything went wrong. Winter came hard and early, isolating the cabin beneath snow and silence, but they endured together, sharing warmth, work, and quiet understanding. As her strength returned, her limp faded. Her laughter surprised her with its softness, and slowly, something unspoken grew between them, not rushed, not claimed, but earned. When spring finally broke winter's grip and the plains bloomed again, she stood beside him watching the horizon, no longer afraid of its emptiness. She had lost everything in a stagecoach crash, but in the ruins, she found resilience, choice, and a future built not on rescue but on courage. And as their story fades into the wide western sky, remember this: sometimes, the road that destroys you is the same one that leads you home. If stories like this move you, inspire you, or remind you of the strength hidden inside ordinary people, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because countless powerful stories are still waiting beyond the horizon. And you won't want to miss the next one.